I'm so grateful for the invitation to be with you here today as you come to a conclusion of the Congress of the Family that you have been observing. And I wanted to come especially because I have just attended the meeting in Rome called the Synod on Family Life and Marriage. It's a way for me to be able to bring here to Chicago, and especially to the Polish people, the results, or at least share part of that celebration with you today. As you know, Pope St. John Paul II was one who wrote an important document, the Familiaris Consortium. And that was a document that helped us, as we gathered in the Synod, to move forward in the life of the Church so that we can, as a Church, be more responsive to the needs of families and those who are married. So it is a pleasure for me to be here because I see my presence here as bigger than just your Congress. I see it as an opportunity for what is happening in the Universal Church to connect with what you and Polonia are doing this weekend. Some time ago, a woman told me the story of how a family was having a conversation about how they would like to die. They had the conversation after returning from the cemetery where they buried this woman's mother. The woman was quite moved by the way her mother died. She had an elder that she had many years, and when she died, she had her whole family around her in her home. It was an opportunity for the family members to tell their mother how much they loved her, how grateful they were. And for the mother as well to tell each of her children to remain faithful in their practice of the faith, but also how much she loved them. It was a peaceful kind of death, and it had quite an impact on her. And so she asked the other family members, "How would you like to die?" One of them said, "Well, I would like to die with no pain, and just in my sleep, and wake up in heaven." Another one said, "I would like to die after having a big party, in which all of my friends would be there." And so as this conversation was going on, this woman noticed her daughter, who was 8 years old, sitting there, saying nothing. She looked very serious. And the mother began to think that maybe this conversation was too heavy for an 8-year-old girl. And so she said to her, "Helen, do you have something to say? How would you like to die?" And the little girl looked up and said, "Yes, I have something to say. I would like to die saving someone's life. I would like to die saving someone's life." What a beautiful inspiration that little girl had. I thought of that story as we come to this feast of Christ the King today, because this feast tells us what kind of king Jesus is. He's not like an earthly king, but he, like this girl, wanted to die in a way that saved others. But it's also a story that helps us understand how Jesus gives each one of us that grace to respond the same way that little girl did. That we would live our lives and die in a way that benefits and saves others. Jesus really believes that we are given the grace already in our lives to live and die that way. In fact, he even believes that Pilate is given that grace. Notice how he answers Pilate's questions. Pilate asks, "Are you a king?" And Jesus says to him, "Are you saying this on your own? Or has somebody told you?" Jesus really believed that Pilate had the ability to say this on his own. That Jesus was already working in his life in a way that allowed him to respond to Jesus. And so the question for each one of us is, can we say on our own, can we respond on our own to Jesus' invitation to live our lives, to give our lives, so that others will be saved? That's a question, I think, for each one of us to answer. Are we listening enough to Jesus to really believe that he is calling us to do that? But it's not just for us as individuals. It's also for families. One of the things that I learned at the Synod on Family was that so often we who are ordained, the people who lead the church, members of the hierarchy, only consider a family as kind of an object, those that we should talk to. But what we heard from married couples and families is that they are not just objects, they're subjects. They work together as agents to do good in their parishes, in their communities, and in the world. Just as each one of us are to answer that question, can we say on our own that Jesus is gracing us? Families have to do that too, as agents. And in this time, as we're getting close to Thanksgiving and Christmas, let me suggest that maybe your family consider a group decision to look for a way in which you can do something positively as a small domestic church, as your own family, for someone else. So that you, like that little girl, can say, we can live our lives, we can die by saving others. That will be the greatest witness for one another, especially for children. Where parents get children together and say, let's together do something for others that will cost us something. Maybe our time, which is the most precious gift, or other resources. But also parishes have to see themselves as subjects, as agents. We cannot have parishes that just have people coming week after week to Mass and only fulfill an obligation as though we're just maintaining a parish. But rather, parishes have to have a mission where they come together as a family of families to make a difference in the community, to make a contribution to society. It's that question that Jesus asked Pilate for a parish. Are you doing this on your own or just because somebody's telling you to do it? Can you take responsibility yourselves as a parish for what's needed in the world and addressing the needs of the world? So today, let us remember that Jesus gives us the grace already to act like he does, to give our lives away to save others. That's what we do here in the Eucharist when we come to Mass. When we receive the body and the blood of Christ, and we say amen, what we're really saying amen to is that we are going to do what Jesus did. When he says, do this in memory of me, he's not just saying, have Mass, have a ritual. No, he's saying, do this in memory of me, like I gave my life to save others. And so let us hear that voice of that little girl in our own way today. How would you like to die? Hopefully the Lord will inspire us today, not only about how we would die, but how we're going to live. We're going to live and die by saving someone's life.